Is looking towards democracy. Democracy means for people to have freedom, freedom to do the right thing, and then also to know that the country is moving in the right direction. One of the most critical factors in this process is that the commissioner of elections should be an upright person. I have heard recently that the present commissioner of elections is about to retire. And when he retires, more likely is that the past commissioner of elections, Mahinda Deshapriya, is trying to come back. He's trying to make a comeback to the same position. Now, I remember I was a presidential candidate and I remember meeting him for the first time. And when I met him, as a presidential candidate, his thinking was that I was never independent, that I was actually doing that in order to support another party. I was really devastated. I was very upset because I have never ever in my life have learned to say lies. I would never have done something like that. I stood up in the presidential election because I wanted to bring about changes in this country to ensure that this country would move forwards in development while taking care of the environment. That was my thinking. But when he looked at me as a woman, all he could think was that I was going to assist another candidate. So when I met him and I heard him for the first time speaking like that, I understood that he's a man who does not respect women. Even though he talks a lot about women's rights and bringing women forward, but he did not respect me. Now, the second thing is that I told him very specifically during the election time, one of the most critical factors is the media. Media tries to earn a lot of money during election period by getting candidates to advertise in their channels. And it cost a lot of money. And so, because they were asking me also for a lot of money, I suggested it to the commissioner of elections at that time. I said to him, make sure that you bring about a regulation or a policy decision to say that the media must support also the smaller candidates so that they could also advertise and not just give priority to people like Gotabaya Rajpaksha, who was, overfilling himself with money. I mean, he had a spillover, whereas we had very little money. Another factor that we wanted the election commissioner to consider was the online system. We know all throughout the world, people are going through this online system, which is a fair election criteria because people can just go and vote for one person, and to learn the system is not a difficult thing. And so corruption could be eliminated through the online system. But the election commissioner never even tried to sort it out. But today I see in the media that nearly 60 million rupees have been spent on overtime in the election commission. Now, for what is the biggest question? What have they done this far? What has the election commission done in order to improve the electoral system or the election procedures, the criteria, the regulations, allowing more people to vote democratically, and then also improving on the places where the elections are being held, where the voting is done? Has the election commission done any of those things? Have they worked that hard that they have even managed to exceed 60 million rupees for their overtime? This shows that even the election commission is corrupt. And so today, when I hear that Mahinda Deshapriya is trying to make a comeback, it scares me. Because we do not want that. We want someone who does not consider, in party politics, someone who is able to stand independent, someone who is able to think about doing the right thing, honesty, legality, being able to make sure that fair elections are being held. This is what we long for. When a fair election is being held, we know it's a choice of the people. Once the choice of the people is elected, everything will flow as it should do. So what I would suggest is, don't even bother about considering Mahinda Deshapriya to be the next election commissioner when Mr. Punchi Heva steps down, because he's about to retire. But what we want is a younger person who knows his honesty, who has a backbone, who wants to do the right thing for the country. We need to elect someone like that. There's no worry. Even if there is an election coming up soon, it can be done. And there are officers, even in the election department, in the commission, who are able to work honestly, and they are up to it. And I'm sure it won't be difficult to find someone to replace Mr. Punchehera. I'm saying this because we want to make sure that this country moves forward and we recover economically, we establish democracy, and that we have a backbone and the strength to face tomorrow globally, and we will be able to compete with other nations. To do that, we need fair elections. So, Mr. Mahinda Deshapriya, I think you should try and find another job.